Hi, everyone. Welcome to tonight's Facebook Live. My name is Julie Ann Fay, and this is an astrological walkthrough of the full moon in Aries on October 13th, 2019. So let me just check that I'm going live. I'm going to pull up this feed on the phone. And if you're here watching, definitely leave a comment so that I can know that you're here. Feel free to let me know your astrological sign if you know your sun, moon, rising. Let's see here. I actually deleted the Facebook app from my phone, so just give me one quick second. Sometimes I temporarily delete apps and then reinstall them, just as kind of like a productivity hack. So it's a fun fact. Okay, looks like we're good. So I'm recording this for you on 10/10, October 10th, and the moon right now is still in Pisces. Gonna chat a couple things and then I'll pull up the chart. So, and I know it looks a little crazy. Debating if I should show you guys the chart yet. We'll give it another couple of seconds. So right now the moon is still in Pisces, and oh, it's 8:28, my birthday. That's always my favorite time of the day is 8:28. Right now the moon is still transiting in Pisces, and this is a very different energy than what this full moon is about. So you might not really be feeling the energy of this full moon as of exactly right now, unless you're sensitive to what the full moon is about, which I'm going to get into. But I just want to bear that in mind, that if you're watching this on October 10th today, October 11th, or October 12th, the moon is going to become exactly at full just shortly after midnight on October 12th. So it really is like the end of day, or I should say like beginning of night, October 12th into October 13th. So without further ado, let's pop into the chart and see what's going on. So this is the chart for the full moon in Aries. I put the location just as New York, and this is on technically Sunday, October 13th, 2019, and this is at 5:08 p.m. We could see this here. So on October 13th at 5:08 p.m., we have the full moon in Aries exactly at 20 degrees. You can see that right here. Oops. Just right there. So at first glance with this chart, it's interesting because I had the urge to plot some extra asteroids for this chart, and it was a little bit more intense than it already is because the asteroids came up around Scorpio and Sagittarius, those that I was plotting. So I actually went back and removed them, but I still have some other important asteroids on here that I typically use when I'm doing these screen shares for you guys, including Dark Moon Lilith, Juno, and Chiron, and of course the nodes. So when we kind of at first glance look at this chart, I'm totally feeling these Neptunian vibes, which are, let's say we could actually plot the transits here. So we could just do a little bit of a refresh of where the moon is at right now and where it's going to be going to. So when we put the transits on this, you could see here that the moon is pretty much almost exactly conjunct Neptune. Let's look at the degrees. So the moon is transiting at 16 degrees of Pisces and Neptune is at so this is, we're doing this by natal. Well, we can look here as well. So the moon is at 16 degrees of Pisces and Neptune transiting is also at 16 degrees of Pisces. So you can see why as I'm recording this, it's a very Neptunian vibe of that could be translated in many different ways depending upon who you are. It's definitely a more dreamy, a more sleepy time. So this is a good time to do more spiritual routines like meditation and yoga. But this is also a very good time to connect with the subconscious through either sleeping or napping, or even just visualizing things that you want from your subconscious into conscious reality. Remember that Pisces and Neptune rule the hidden and the unseen. They rule kind of the space in the world that we go into when we meditate and when we dream and when we sleep. So right now we're still in that space. We haven't really popped into the energy of the full moon in Aries yet. So as I'm recording this for you, there's still a little bit of that vibe going on. Now, as we approach this full moon in Aries, the moon is going to move over Chiron, which is definitely a sore spot, in astrology. It's considered to be the wounded healer. It's this aspect of ourselves that we have to really work at lovingly incorporating instead of trying to shun or dismiss. So Chiron has been transiting at the beginning of Aries for quite some time now. It is in retrograde. I'm just going to take a sip of water. Another thing too with Moon in Pisces and Neptunian vibes is bring in the water element. So drink more water, if you can, take a shower or a bath during a Moon in Pisces, as well as it's also a good time to just kind of connect in with like Neptunian things like movies and other kind of realities too. So Chiron is transiting at the beginning of Aries. So this is definitely bringing up for everybody, because this is obviously this chart is coming up as a natal chart, but I've run the chart for the specific full moon. So this is the chart of the full moon at the time it's exact. So Chiron at the beginning of Aries is bringing up ego wounds. This could also be a sense of woundedness around self-identity and also the expression of your physical abilities, like your body and your physical power. So Aries is associated with the warrior and Mars and the masculine element, and it does rule not only the head but the physical body. A lot of time you'll find people that are Aries ascendant, in particular Aries ascendant, because the ascendant rules the initiation of the chart and the physical features of the body, a lot of times that in the midheaven. You'll find that Aries ascendant people can be very focused on physical fitness and like fitness regimens and stuff like that. I've found also people that are Aries Capricorn can be that. It depends again on someone's chart, and it's not to say that if you're not that you won't be that, right? But having this wounded aspect at the beginning of Aries could mean that you're telling yourself that you don't have enough strength or you're not strong enough, or this could definitely be like a not believing in yourself enough kind of aspect, especially as it comes to like the physical strength and abilities. But this can also be challenges of the ego, where you want it to be your way. You want it to look a very specific way, and things aren't looking that very specific way. So you're feeling hurt and wounded about it, So the moon is going to move over. The moon is going to move over Chiron before we get to this full moon in Aries. So first, we're moving through, as I'm recording this for you, we're moving through the realm of the subconscious and the dreamlike state. And then we're going to definitely go through this more tender moment where we are even more sensitive because the moon rules sensitivity and vulnerability. So as the moon approaches Chiron, we're really going to be feeling that. But the moon moves fairly fast, right? Very fast. Every 2 to 2.5 days, it changes signs. So this will be a short-lived transit, but it will be felt because moon conjunct Chiron is always felt, So there might be a bit of like sleepiness and lethargy right now. And then as we move into moon conjunct Chiron, it will be like, oh, I wish that things could be better than they are, or feeling really like just, and the expression butthurt is coming to mind. So like wounded, or just like feeling like nothing is going right, that things aren't working out for you, and just feeling really like it's you against the world, and just feeling very frustrated. But that will pass. We will process that, but then that will pass, and we'll begin to approach, this exact chart here. So you could see that the moon will be full on October 13th. Um, did I plot this for 5:08 p.m. and this is a.m.? Hold on one quick second. Oh no, okay, so this is the right chart, but I misspoke. So this is the right chart for 5:08 p.m. on October 13th. I misspoke saying that it was going to be after midnight, so scratch that. For some reason, perhaps the Neptunian vibes. In my head, I thought of this as 5:08 a.m. I don't know where I got that from, actually. Maybe I was looking at a different aspect or something. But no, this will be on Sunday. So if you're on the East Coast, this will be on Sunday around dinner time, actually, when this is full. So I'm recording this for you several days before, which if you're on my email newsletter list, which I would definitely encourage that you are, you can find a link to sign up for that in the description of this video. You will get an email from me with this entire video and lots of other goodies. And I'm sending out those emails around the time of the new and full moon. So make sure that you are subscribed to my email list. It's a really wonderful way to stay up to date with what's happening astrologically and business updates. And there's also special discounts available to nowhere else in my email newsletter and lots of other surprise goodies too. So anyway, so yes, Sunday night is when this is tracking towards. So we're not quite there yet, but who knows, you might be watching this at the exact time of the full moon, you might be watching it afterwards. Whenever you're watching this, you can just take the opportunity to reflect on some of the things I'm talking about if it's past. You know, even if you're watching this sometime after the full moon is exact, it's okay. Even several days later, up to a week later, I am always of the viewpoint, you know, that you can be reflective. And I think actually we learn when we're reflective as well as forward thinking. We have to do both. We have to look forward, and we also have to at times reflect on kind of what was and think about it and make informed understanding about that experience that we went through. So the sun is transiting. Oh, this is funny because this will be, so the sun at the time of the full moon in Aries will actually be conjunct my natal moon. My natal moon is at 21 degrees of Libra. So this particular full moon will actually be opposing my moon, pretty much like exact. But it's interesting because with oppositions, I find increasingly that oppositions are a time to rebalance, because you're pulling in energy from opposite sides. You know, it's a reason why people say like opposites attract, you know, because when we have these two polarizing energies, right, like think of like a magnet, the North and South Pole. When we have these two opposite energies, they represent the two aspects of duality of that axis. So the Libra Aries axis is to do with the self. Aries is the self. And then Libra, which is the relationship with another person, one-on-one connections with other people. And this includes all types of relationships, friendship, what have you, all different types, right? So this axis is all about examining your role in connection with others, as well as your role in the relationship that you have with yourself. You know, so as we approach this full moon in Aries, it's going to be illuminating the aspects of your self-identity, and maybe ways that you're not asserting yourself enough, because Aries is also about self-assertion, and it carries that Mars energy, which is that strength, and that can be aggression. So if you have this particular moon in harsh aspect to something in your chart, it can definitely be illuminating these areas for you. And I do also, another offering I have is that I do customized moon reports every month, where it's a paid offering where you can have me look at your natal chart and actually give you customized advice based on your natal chart for the new and full moon of that month. And I also do a card pull for each new and full moon, and I send that to you as an audio recording. It's a really, really great way to gain extra guidance in a particular moon cycle. And also sometimes people indulge in it when they're new to astrology and they want just like a teaser or a taste of something to work with, but they're not ready to kind of go deep dive. So definitely keep that in mind. Other things about this particular full moon. So you can see that the moon doesn't have anything around it. It's too far away to be conjunct Chiron, as well as too far away from Uranus. But it does have a lot of squares going on. So of course we got the opposition to the sun, which makes it a full moon. And the sun is also not necessarily close to anything. We do have Mars here, but this is about a 14-degree orb. So that's way too far to be conjunct. Mars is, catching up to the space of the sun. Probably by the time it gets to where the sun will be long gone, out of Libra. Because the sun moves roughly 1 degree a day. So the sun moves roughly 1 degree a day, and the moon moves about twice that speed. So of course we have this opposition, but we also have, if you look closely, Pluto is at 20 degrees. So we have an exact, whenever something is exact in astrology, it's very significant because it means it's felt like 10 times more, because it's the precise mathematical placement of these two energies are exactly looking at each other, and they have kind of no choice but to sort of face each other in that energy, So we have an exact square of the moon and Pluto, which can be harsh. The moon doesn't like to interact with Pluto. It doesn't really, well, it depends who you are. If you're a Scorpio or a very Plutonic person, like I have Pluto in my first house, so although I'm not a Scorpio, I consider myself a very Plutonic person, and Pluto is one of the co-rulers of Scorpio. So this kind of depends on who you are and what you like, your tastes, if you will. But moon square Pluto can be harsh or aggravating because it can mean that there's like this collective, especially because the Pluto is in Capricorn and it's been transiting here a while. This is like the ways that you've been, self-sabotaging by not following through with a particular plan or working through particular steps. This is becoming more magnified now. Maybe, Aries, the shadow side of Aries is that it can be impatient because it can want things like now. Capricorn is very different than that. That's why this, is a square, because this is cardinal fire and this is cardinal earth. So Capricorn would say, well, I acknowledge that, you're not getting it immediately, but that's because we have to do A, B, C, D, E, F, G until we can get to the place of satisfaction that we want. And Capricorn can be almost like have this ability to, because it's got that Saturnian element to it. And if we look, Saturn is right there. So this is also a Saturn square moon, full moon, which is also kind of harsh. So this is very much like a Capricorn versus Aries story. So people that are Aries and Capricorn are really going to be feeling this. Capricorns are probably going to feel that people that are more Arian are being kind of pushy on them, wanting them to do or be a certain way, maybe faster than they're like wanting to do or say. And Aries is going to feel really frustrated because they might not be getting necessarily what they want in the immediate because they're being pushed to look at the long term, to not like the expression, which I hate this expression, but like to throw the baby out with the bathwater, right? It's like there's still merit in the whole package, the whole situation that's going on. There's still merit in it. But if you look at just kind of like in the here and now, I'm dissatisfied, I'm not getting what I want, and therefore it is bad. If you kind of create these like mind loops that tell you that it's inherently bad because you're not satisfied in the here and now, instead of kind of broadening it a bit and saying, hey, maybe there's a bigger story, a bigger picture unraveling, and I know that it's hard work, but I can kind of see where this could go. I could see how this could improve. I could see how this could provide the satisfaction that I want for actually a much longer span of time, So in a sense, Aries and Capricorn do both want that satisfaction to achieve things, right? Because Mars, Aries ruler, is exalted at a very high place in Capricorn because it knows that it's going to get things done when Mars is in Capricorn. It's going to follow through. So Aries and Capricorn both want to like get stuff done, right? It's just that they're approaching it from different ways. Capricorn is more calculated and is looking at it, assessing and saying, okay, what are the tools that I need in order to do this? What is it that I need to do? It's almost like Capricorn is setting up the project management plan, right? Like, I am here, I want to be there. What are the necessary steps that I need to take from here and there to get there? And then it's having the patience and the persistence to work those steps all throughout the plan. Aries is basically saying, well, Aries, the strength of Aries is what gives us that initial inertia to want to start the project to begin with. If you think about Aries, it's the start of spring. So it's literally the strength of those first shoots, right, from the plants, piercing through the soil and coming up through the ground so that they can start to receive sunlight. So we need Aries. The thing is that Aries will be excited at the onset of the project, but then they'll feel frustrated fairly quickly because the working of the plan is going to take a longer process, a more patient process, and that's not one of Aries' strengths generally. Aries energy is more so wanting to dive in and can kind of be impulsive in that way, but it's able to get things initiated and get things started. It's not necessarily the best for like sustaining that energy, right? Like Capricorn and maybe some of the earth signs, especially like a Capricorn or Taurus would really be. Virgo can be as well, but Virgo is mutable earth, so it tends to be also having a little bit of a changeable element to it. Saturn is also exalted in Libra, so although Libra and Aries are in the same axis, Saturn has a little bit more respect for Libra because it can have this ability to weigh things out before it impulsively makes a decision, right? So the thing is that Libra will be kind of crying and hurting about the fact that they're socially isolated while this project is going on. Whereas Aries is like, hey, we started the project, but this is taking so long. Like, I'm just so frustrated with this, They're approaching it from different angles. Aries doesn't care so much about the social aspect of it. They're more so like, how am I going to achieve, accomplish, persevere, do? Libra is able to hold that space to be patient and assess the whole story before it kind of like accesses that emotions of frustration and impatience. But it's able to also grieve for the loss of working on this project or these projects with other people, because Libra wants to be social. It wants to be around other people. So we also have Saturn and Pluto squaring the sun, which is, again, a harsh aspect, So that's kind of some of what that is about, is that Libra is feeling hurt because this plan needs to be worked, and it's like, I'm feeling so socially deprived. And then Aries is feeling hurt because the plan is going to take a while. It's going to take a while to iron out the kinks, and that's not in the here and the now immediately satisfying, and not really what Aries wants to hear. So it's sort of like Saturn and Pluto are caught in between these extremes, and they're trying to hold the boat steady. It's like they're trying to steer the ship, even though there's people on the ship that are like so over it, and they want to go home, or they are complaining about the food and the wine. They're just really dissatisfied with like the services of what's going on. So I do feel like this is, again, also if you're a Libra, you'll be feeling this as well, but this is really, really interestingly a very Capricornian story, this full moon, because it's trying to like hold space between these two energies that have different points on things. And the good news is that we have Jupiter exact. It's like a major blessing and gift from the universe that this is exact at 20 degrees, trining down to the moon. So yeah, again, this is like just definitely a gift from the universe, because for it to be exact is quite a synchronicity as well. So although we have these exact squares, it's like just even staring at this chart, it's so mind-boggling how precise these like aspects are. So even though we have these exact squares to Pluto, to the sun and moon, we do also have Jupiter in an exact trine down to the moon. So Jupiter being in Sagittarius, this is a fire sign, and Aries is a fire sign. So it's like Aries and Sag are in the same family. It's almost like they're brother and sister. They're not the same. They're not twins by any means, but they kind of are in the same family. They have similar characteristics. They can kind of understand each other. Whereas, you know, Aries and Capricorn would be like a child and a parent, or a child and a grandfather, or a child and like a weird uncle or something, you know. Um, so with this Jupiter trining over to the moon, exactly, this is providing support from the universe to say, look at the big picture, look at what you're learning during this process, because Sagittarius is about higher learning, wisdom, looking at things from a higher perspective, you know. So it's like I'm actually getting the image of like a hot air balloon. So it's like basically this Aries moon, the sun in Libra, and Pluto in Capricorn are all stuck in the basket of a hot air balloon. And they're kind of arguing with each other. You know, Capricorn is like assessing the number of sandbags and criticizing them that they didn't do it right. Libra is sort of like bemoaning and guilting the fact that they should have brought somebody on that maybe had better expertise in this, and they should have thought about this more before they just took off. And the moon in Aries is just like, I don't feel emotionally fulfilled because we're not at the destination. Like, we're not moving fast enough. Like, we're not at the destination we said we were going to be at. This is taking way too long. And I'm just really frustrated and annoyed. And I'm just going to be irritated and angry, you know, which irritates the sun in Libra, because the sun in Libra wants peace and balance, and Capricorn's trying to hold it together. So it's like these three energies are in this basket all together. And we have almost like this governing body, this like outside force, this Jupiter and Sag, that's like, hey guys, hold up, look at the landscape below you, look at the sky, look at the trees, look at the journey that you're witnessing. Like, you're all kind of stuck in there arguing with each other, but look at what's around you, look at the beauty that's around you, look at what you're receiving from this, look at what you're learning from this, you know. So this is definitely a big gift from the universe that this is exact, because this will provide support and also wisdom, you know. So definitely, if you're in Aries, look to any Saggies that you have in your life, because they may be, you know, in a good mindset, a good place to be able to support you, to look at the big picture and to think more positively, you know. Just checking if we got any people on this live. So this is definitely a positive aspect, you know. So we've spoken about the squares here to Pluto. We also do have, this is plotting Chiron opposed Vertex. I'm not really going to get into Vertex, but there was something else. Oh yeah, Uranus. So everything that I just described is definitely a major theme. You know, we do also have Neptune and Lilith here that are squaring that Jupiter, but the good news is that this is subsiding because Neptune's going retrograde. So Neptune's going backwards towards Aquarius. It's not going to go as far into, it's not going to go into Aquarius by any means, because it moves very slowly. And Jupiter's moving forward. So they're moving in opposite directions. They're not necessarily going to catch each other. But this is important here. So Uranus is retrograde, and it's at the beginning degrees of Taurus. And we recently had Venus and Mercury move into Scorpio. So we do have a Uranus opposed Venus pretty strongly for this full moon. Now, Venus isn't there yet. As I'm recording this for you right now, Venus is at 2 degrees of Scorpio. So it's beginning to form as I'm recording this for you, but it's going to become more amplified because this will be an opposition within 1 degree. So Venus opposed Uranus could be definitely an element of like separation from people that are, I mean, the word deemed is coming through, but it's like it's being deemed by almost like this godlike force, you know, that it's like not of value for you anymore. So this could be like moving away from, or just like slowly starting to like almost like create distance. Now, Uranus doesn't really act slowly. It tends to be more sudden and abrupt. But Uranus in Taurus is tricky because it's Uranus in an earth sign, a slow moving earth sign. So, you know, one astrologer that I follow also talks about the fact that it's like the energy will kind of be boiling and will sort of pop or explode. And when it does pop or explode, it will be a lot more extreme than it would have if Uranus was in like an air or fire sign, because it's still operating. The energy is still kind of cooking, but you're just not seeing it, you know. But I definitely have a lot of respect for Uranus. I've come to really understand my own Uranus, and my IC, the root of my chart, is actually in Aquarius. So I have a lot of understanding about like Aquarian values and also Uranian energy. Uranus also rules technology and inventions and innovation. So there are a ton of positive qualities to Uranus. And really what Uranus does is says, hey, I'm going to separate you from this person or this thing in order to give you this alternate viewpoint or this exposure. It's kind of like Jupiter, but different. It's more powerful than Jupiter, because Jupiter doesn't have the capacity to sort of like create radical change in your life like Uranus does. So this Uranus opposed Venus could definitely be sudden connections coming in, you know. This could be and look for people also that are in these energies of like Taurus and Scorpio, or have these tendencies of Taurus and Scorpio. So this could be like sudden new connections coming in, but this could also be at the same time that these new connections are coming in, it's also simultaneously like the moving away from of other people, the separation of other people. And it might be like you're having this separation with these people just because of very innocent factors, you know, like scheduling conflicts or something like that, but it's just not quite aligned, you know. We also would have Uranus opposed Mercury and a wider orb. So this creates a similar set of variables, but different. So now this is about the mind. So this is separating from people to kind of work on very inventive things or out of the box or creative things. This can also be, you know, sudden bursts of genius, sudden ideas coming through that actually provide like a solution to a problem you've been really stuck on, you know. So this is an important aspect as well, this Uranus opposed Venus and Uranus opposed Mercury. So it's like, again, that analogy of those three people in the hot air balloon, they're all kind of bickering with each other, and then Jupiter's supervising it and really encouraging them to look at the big picture, look at the landscape below them and everything. But then also we have like periodically these surprise people, these surprise ideas coming into the mix. It's like, and I'm a huge Harry Potter fan, so it's like spontaneously some new person like apparates, you know, into the hot air balloon basket, provides something like really innovative for the people to think about, and then leaves, you know. Or just out of nowhere, like this idea comes to them that they weren't thinking of before, you know. So this is a positive aspect, even though it's an opposition. It's an opposition because it's, you know, these two opposing forces, right? But if you're able to have respect for these like genius ideas that come through, or just kind of roll with it when these like new people or new ideas or connections come in, and see what that's there to teach you, that's going to be of really great value. So I think that's just about everything I wanted to say about this. We do also have the nodes that are increasingly moving, you know, away from the end of Cancer and Capricorn and closer to Gemini and Sag. Still have a ways to go with that, but I wanted to speak to that because if you're an early Cancer or early Capricorn, you're going to be starting to feel these nodes more than you would have been feeling them transiting over the later degrees. The nodes are weird and they move backwards. Also, the South node in Capricorn is moving away from Saturn, which is significant because it was all up on Saturn for a while, so was providing even more of this like push and squeeze about the work that needed to be done, you know. So lots of energy cooking for this full moon in Aries. It's definitely going to be an interesting one. It's coming to full form, like I said, October 13th, you know, around dinner time. So I hope that you all have a wonderful full moon in Aries, and that you are harnessing the energies well, accessing this video for the wisdom it provides for you to understand and work those energies. And I also wanted to share, so I launched what I'm calling my Share and Save program. So if you watched this video until the end and you really enjoyed it and you felt like it was a great service to you, I would love for you to share it. So I've set up these discount incentives where you can share about this video in different ways. So you can tell a friend about it, send them an email with a link to this video. You can do an Instagram post or do an Insta story about it. And make sure that if you are speaking about the fact that, hey, I watched this great video by Julianne Fay, she's an astrologer, and make sure that you link to either the video itself or you tag me, my Instagram account or my Facebook page. You can do that as well with Facebook via Facebook story or creating a Facebook post. I'm also letting people do all three of these things. So that's up to 35% off that you can get on your next reading. And for right now, this is reserved to card readings, but that might change. I'm going to think about that with astrology. If you're interested in an astrology reading instead of a card reading, definitely you can email me at juliannefay@gmail.com and we can see what we could sort out. But I just wanted to kind of share this with you all. So definitely make sure that you partake of this. I'm looking to get the word out more about my business, and I'd love to reward people who are sharing about my business because it means a lot. So with that, I think I'm going to close. I hope everybody has a very good weekend and a very good full moon. Hang in there, keep positive, focus on the big picture, and everything will be okay. Sending you all so much love and light. Bye-bye.